Hi everyone, my name is Ivan, and today I'm going to discuss, or better to say, to present about fraud prevention and all my knowledge that I learned from my experience and plus from the recent reports that's posted and collected by well-known companies in fraud industries. I hope people going to find it useful information for themselves and maybe choose the fraud prevention path at the end, or at least start to looking at this path in their career, or maybe change something. First things first, I'm currently working in a company that's calling Bumble. However, this presentation is poor my expression and everything that's presented, and you will see on the slides collected by myself and not represent the Bumble view on position for prevention. Little bit about myself. I'm in fraud prevention industry about 11 years. I'm close to 12 years. I'm gonna soon celebrated it. From my experience, I worked in companies such as Tinkoff Credit System, Forex Club, or Libertex Club, Get Taxi, Booking.com. Most of my focusing area was payment fraud. However, I also touched the areas across the different types of the fraud functionalities, such as coupon abuse, collusion, co- resales, and etc. etc. Currently, I'm working as I mentioned already in the Bumble, where I focus in on the payment fraud specifically, and additionally, I also covering the reporting part because. As we discovered, both of these areas they're pretty close, and we have some good knowledge from the reporting, which we can apply in the fraud prevention as well. The main idea of this presentation to answer the main questions: why we should be aware of payment fraud. General answer, it's a simple one. It's actually one-line answer to say it's everything about money, and payment fraud is very valuable area, and a lot of the companies year over year discovers its payment fraud as an area where they need invest more, hire the right peoples, and explore the possibility how to prevent transactional fraud on the markets. Some terminology here. My expectation is that some of you might hear this terminology that's calling as chargebacks. However, another terminology that's well close is calling refunds. The main difference between refunds and chargebacks, that's a refund is a process which initiated by merchant to return money back to the customer. For example, if you buy something today on Amazon, and for example you're not getting your purchase in a well time, you message your merchant and ask to return your money back. In that case, merchant initiate refund money, and everyone happy except the merchant because at the end it's no money on their bank account. The difference with chargebacks that customers try to contact to the merchant and try to regulate the issue and find a solution how to prevent it. Didn't find ability to communicate with the merchant, or maybe a bit lazy to communicate with the merchant as well. And at the end, calling to the bank, whereas payment method or credit cards was issued, and they said that, for example, operations wasn't recognized and never sees transaction or never buy anything in the company, such as something. And in that case, issuer, which is represented by bank, escalated the dispute and terminology calling chargebacks. The chargebacks are more painful to the merchant rather than refunds, based on the amount of chargebacks, and follow the rules of international payment methods such as Visa and MasterCard. You might feel a lot of the fees coming from these payment providers is going to be affect on your authorization rate, and you start to pay more and more to the card processing, and you might start to find trouble that some of the banks um, more decline your transaction rather than if you process without any programs here. So TLDR of this slide, chargebacks, it is something that's initiated by customers via call to the bank, or to message or mobile application. The refunds is something that you can communicate to the company where you buy something, where you have this purchase, and request money back without any filling the documents and investigation why it happens and how it happens. Some of the numbers here to share more information about this topic, why fraud prevention is something curious for many companies, big companies and small companies and startups as well. So we started from the numbers from 2022, and our first number that's calling 5 trillion USD. So this is quite interesting amount. It is actually retail e-commerce sales surge to staggering 5 trillions with projection of 8 trillions for 2026. So it's as you already see, it's pretty huge market, and it's continuing with the help of the COVID. We see more and more increase of e-commerce transactions rather than people going somewhere buy something for the cash. Additional metrics that's another interesting factor for 2022 that's calling cross border purchase. So it's say that right now 76% of the transaction happens in cross-border transaction. What it's mean? For example, I have credit cards in United Kingdom and I decide to buy something in United States. In that case, it's calling cross-border transaction. Or I use the same credit cards and buy something in China. In both cases, it's cross-border transaction. Just for numbers perspective, in 2019, just 4 years ago, it was 69%. So you can see just like for 4 years, it's increased like for 7%, which is for a lot of different industries quite a huge amount. And additional actually good important information about cross borders. Since a lot of the companies start to see cross-border transactions, it really affects on their metrics and it really affects on their rules they have in place. And they start to hire more and more fraud specialists who are going to looking on all the rules and how they populate. But let's stick to the payment fraud numbers. So in actually 2017, which was not long time ago, let's call it pre-COVID area, it was 17 billion USD, or how to present this amount, it's 10.5 million iPhones 14 Pro. In 2022, the number reached 41 billions, which represent increase on 141%. As you can see, just for 5 years, the amount increased dramatically. And this is actually only confirmed fraud. Why it's only confirmed fraud? Because the dispute or initiation of chargebacks might take up to half a year to final decision. That means some of the chargeback which might escalated at the end of 2022 going to statistics to 2023, and the amount even more higher than I presented here. And actually the numbers for this year is 48 billions. However, I checked months ago the prediction of this amount, and a lot of experts right now say that's going to hit 50 or even 52 billion USD because more and more payments fraud happens on the platforms, and a lot of the people start to aware. It's better to say the awareness of the topic of chargebacks more and more across the customers or owners of the credit cards. That means people start to more look into their bills, realize and analyze what they used, where their card was used, and start to feeling a lot of chargebacks. Plus, economical situation actually motivate a lot of the people start to pretty close calculate their finances, and they start to spot it fraud on early stages and escalated chargebacks as well. On these slides, that's I would say is pretty hard to read. However, it was posted by one of the well-known companies. It's called Revelin. It is a fraud prevention solution. The well-known in industry. The one of the first one who providing network opportunity. But if you look in general about the hiring process in fraud industry worldwide, you might see that on the left one, the global average, about 12% of the companies who participate in this report expecting to increase their fraud teams significant. What means significant here? It's about like 20% what they have in here, well, what they already have, and 47% of the companies expecting to increase in general fraud prevention. Some of them might on board manual review, some of them start to look on the machine learning, which we're gonna touch a bit later on. Some of them realize that machine learning is working well and they need more data engineers and developers to improve the existing solutions. Maybe some of them going outside and using external solutions as well, and they need to more and more people who can integrate and set up it properly. And from these slides, additional outcome to say that right now it's 3 regions who are actively looking for increase their teams. It's Australia, Brazil, and Mexico. All these markets, they're expecting hire more and more fraud specialists because e-commerce really boom in those regions. However, in Mexico, you might see on the slide is really misreading data. Even they want to expect an increase of 6%, it's 29 states decrease. So I would say Mexico ended in 2022 with a good perspective from the sales. However, the projection for this year not as good as expected. However, I don't hear for past half a year that any of the Mexican or Brazilian companies layoffs anyone who related to fraud prevention. Additionally, important to mention here, the tech industry has experienced job cuts. The demand of the fraud experts remain robust. Just as you see on these slides, a lot of the companies expecting to hire more and more people, and they're not only fraud operation specialists. It's a variety of different career opportunities here, which I'm going to touch on the next slides. However, I just want to briefly touch how to prevent fraud prevention works, what the tools existing, and something about the valuable topics that's called machine learning. That's one of the most popular word for the past couple years across all reports, all webinars. So first of all, the fraud prevention possible to prevent using in-house solutions. What it means that someone building existing functionality in-house, that means they might have machine learning solution, they might have rule solution, they have ability to build the metrics, they have someone who can analyze them, someone who can adapt them and make sure it's not affecting legitimate traffic. Additionally, on the market, it is existing list of the payment provider solutions who guarantee high acceptance rates and a low fraud decline rates. All these companies, they started the communication from these phrases. They say, we resolve all your problems. What you need, just send us all your traffic. We're going to analyze it and back to you with the optimal solutions. And you will be happy. Everyone will be happy. We're just going to charge you for each attempt. And it might work for the small companies. However, as companies grow their operations, grow their revenue, they may start to feel that it's not something they want to continue work because their bills for using these services increase months over months. They just don't want to pay so much money for different companies for solution which they might able to build it themselves. So actually, good point mentioned here that in-house solutions, they're usually existing for the medium or big companies. However, I know some of the startup companies with small operation who who using in-house solutions as well. Another option is an external solution who prevent everything. So these well-known companies who say you exactly the same as the second one, but instead also say we analyze all your systems, we're gonna preventing everything, we're gonna work with cybersecurity, we're gonna using with coupon abuse, we also resolve all your problem with authorization rates. All you need just like send us more and more information, and we're gonna charge you more and more because we provide another service. Fourth options on the slide that's calling proactive refunds, and this is something if you Google right now how to prevent fraud, one of the advices you might find repeat themselves across different sites. You might open this calling refunds. What it's mean or how it actually works. So someone in the company going to start to looking on the scope of transactions that happens on daily basis, and if something looks suspicious based on the metrics, or maybe it's in general looks suspicious, choose this list of transactions and refund them. The problem with this method, it's not really helpful for several reasons. For first reason, that refunds is not going to work for all payment methods. And if you accept more than credit cards, it is might be double loss for you. For example, some of the payment methods that's popular in Europe, that's calling ideal, that's cross banking payments. If you refund the transaction, and after this you're not expecting to get any chargebacks or any fees, the customer who using these payment methods can escalate the chargeback as well, and getting double money on their account. And I can confirm for 100%, once people discover opportunity to get more money on their account than they spend, they're going to using this opportunity more and more. It is, of course, some of the options to prevent this double charge happens on the payment providers. However, it is still some possibilities here that double refunds or double charge happens from the merchant side and drive to the double losses for the some companies. Another and the plus, when you refund something, as I mentioned, payment providers such as Visa and MasterCard, they're using some of thresholds to define the program verification. Most of the rules, they're focusing on fraud to sales, or generally speaking, when you divide number of chargebacks to number of successful transaction you have on platform. So if you're using a lot of the refunds, they're really removing from your success transaction. That's mean your fraud to sales rate that's you expecting to going down might be going up, because from a statistical perspective, you drive some of your success metrics going down. However, your chargeback rate remains the same. Send traffic to 3D Secure. 3D Secure is something you might saw every time when you buy. Not every time, it's happens sometimes, but it's become very popular options to additional verification from the merchant perspective. You might see them when you pay on some sites. It's a new window pop up on the screen, and you're getting opportunity to enter code verification that you get on your mobile application, code verification that you're getting on SMS, or even in some companies, redirection happens to your mobile application where you confirm the transaction, and after this redirection happens back to the platform where you buy some purchase, and confirmation happens. It is good options because it's really affects on the fraud rate and really prevent a lot of the traffic. However, these additional steps, these additional steps really affects on your success rate of transactions, because you add additional step to the customer. In some countries, it is not one step; it is multiple steps, and it is create the area when people expecting to get verification code, it's not arrived. So it is a lot of the issues. At the end, it was failed, and payment will not success, and you're not getting revenue for this payment. So the solution to send everything to additional verification might not work, because it really affects on your revenue and operations cost as well. And the last one is manual review. When you sign in with some companies who manually review all your transactions on day-to-day transactions. And if they see something suspicious, they refund it or decline transactions as well. Not really scalable payment method. You still need to create the queues. You still need to build a lot in place to make sure that's only suspicious transaction going to manual review, and not each transaction going to manual review and hold the purchase on the platforms. And if you look on the in-house fraud solution, as I mentioned, so it's usually represented by two things that's called machine learning and a rules-based system. The machine learnings, my expectation that everyone know how machine learning works. That's you, or if I'm simplify, you getting the tons of data, you providing some of the features, something happens on backend, some magic happens, and at the end you're getting the score for each transaction, and you say as higher the score, as close you to predict that this transaction might return as a fraud. So if you never work as analyst or never touch any data solutions, so you might not able to set up proper machine learning. For these cases, you need different skills, different types of skills in your team. That means it's additional career opportunity to the people who might want to participate in fraud prevention area. Something I want to touch about like data in general. Fraud is really challenging area. It is really dynamic and it changes every day. So, for example, you might see the trend today. Something happens with a card from Spain, and tomorrow the trend is gone, and you never see it again, or this trend is gonna be continue and modifying. So, to fraud prevention, one of the most important skills is the ability to working with the data, because data is give you opportunity to scalable all solutions, to understand how they work, review all the patterns, review how this pattern exists, when it starts, when it's end, what the feature, what the combination of the parameter are existing for these kind of trends. And if we have ability to understand how it affects on the main metrics of the company, which is revenue or EBITDA, for example. And fraud is one of the good things. Best to say fraud prevention, one of the good things, because usually if it's no fraud in the company, that means the business is not growing. For fraudsters, they're mostly focusing on the growing businesses, because it gives them ability to tackle more and more profit from their side. Brief example here. For example, you selling this online, and one of your products is socks. So if you sell 10 socks a day, and your operation is very small, and not a lot of people know about your brand, that means if I'm using the stolen credit cards and I buy these socks, I, with a low chance, going to find someone who buys these socks. But for example, if you look at another company and you still selling the socks, however, you sell 10 billion socks every day, and you working as a well-known brands. That means if I'm using my credit cards to buy these 10 socks for the 100 USD, and I'm going to somewhere in Telegram, WhatsApp, or somewhere else, and the post is that I'm selling these socks with a huge percent of discount, for example, 50% of discount, that's give you a lot of demand for fraudsters to selling these SOCs, it gives them ability to perform, if it's best to say, perform from their side and more attack your business. And most important to remember is the last topics that if you're working with a fraud, the most important thing is it labeling. You need to know how to label transaction. You need to know how to work with all these labels. And if you decide to set up machine learning, which my expectation going to be a case for the middle or big size companies, so these labels will be very crucial for everyone and specifically for data scientists. Which is bring us for the slide about like careers opportunities, where I gonna share what the options and what the careers presents in fraud prevention paths, what's the difference between them, and what you can achieve if you start to look in this area. I've started from fraud prevention in general. Unfortunately, it is not standardized titles or not standardized process, because if you're looking on fraud prevention in huge companies, majority of the team is going to be presented by manual review team and some external solution who tagging transaction and send this tagging transaction to review them. Usually it is a team of some of like head of department and several middle size areas like team leads who reviewing several teams under them, which represent manual review. Another area, fraud analyst, which I actually started a long time ago, and I would recommend for people who are working right now as a data analyst or maybe business analyst, and if they are tired to calculating revenue or calculating how new feature affects on the performance of the company and the metrics of the company, it might be something they find very interesting and innovative as well. So in the area of fraud analyst, you will work a lot of the digging across the data. You will analyzing ongoing trends. You're gonna apply some hypotheses or check some hypotheses which you might have in your mind. And the useful here skills that's really helpful. It's first one is SQL. It is very different of the companies who requested SQL nowadays. And it is different variety of SQL, started from MySQL or Snowflakes or Hive, etc., etc. Another one is a Python or R. These statistical languages are really helpful to working with huge data sets. They really speed up your work and allow you to analyze big data sets and come up with some conclusion much faster while you're waiting the huge SQL, which might take you from couple of minutes to a couple of hours. Additional skills that's very useful with working with some data visualization. It might be Tableau, MicroStrategy, which is representing just like dashboard, because the dashboard is very useful, something you can see. It's always easy to review, and maybe if you see some metric spikes, you can more focusing on specific spikes and understand what the drive crazy these potential metrics, and knowledge of the Git as well, because you might using some of the Python and it's easy just like collaborate using the Git. Additionally, it is software engineers or data engineers position who particularly focus on the fraud. They mostly working with machine learning solutions, and the knowledge of how to work with CI SD pipelines, how to using the test of the services they put in place, how work with languages such as Java, JavaScript, also Python and Scala, gonna help them to set up the proper condition for the machine learning, proper opportunity to set up the features, to extract feature and work with features. a lot of the engineering's knowledge as well, like ATL projects and how to work with big data. As I mentioned, a lot of the knowledge and one of the useful skills for the fraud analyst, it is working with the data. That's mean if you're the person who responds for the data to populate for the fraud, you're very valuable, and outcomes of your work is easy to calculate. So implementing one feature can save thousands of USD to the company, and it is one of the exit expectation metrics. For example, you can put in your annual review in the company. And of course, because I say manual review several times today, it is really valuable area for the data scientist or machine learning scientist, depends on how the title calling, because it is give you opportunity to work in with the fraud prevention, to know how to apply knowledge in the cases from, for example, from fraud analyst and apply them in machine learning. And of course, this variety of skills you might need to set up a proper machine learning. Of course, the computer science degree, my requirement, some math and physical knowledge as well. Proficiency experience in SQL and the Python gonna be just a plus for everyone, or it's supposed to be stronger requirement knowledge for populate and build something in place. And the experience working with IVS, CLI, and programming like Scala or Java gonna be a huge plus if you want to participate as data scientist for fraud prevention area. And yeah, I believe it was all that I want to present today. If anyone have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.